Hey guys, James Brown with Barton Springs Mill here for your next episode of Ask Your Miller Mondays. Hey guys, welcome to Ask Your Miller episode 2. Thanks for writing in with some additional questions. We've got some things to answer today, and I'm just going to jump right in. What exactly is whole white wheat flour, and do you offer something similar? That's an excellent question, and we get that question quite a bit. Whole white wheat or white wheat, hard white wheat, is actually a relatively modern development. It was developed in response to many complaints that whole wheat flour that is made from hard red winter wheat is too bitter, that the bran coat and aileron layer in particular contain tannic acid or tannins, very much like if you've ever had a really big, heavily structured Cabernet Sauvignon wine, that cheek drying sort of experience you get comes from the tannins, and it can have a bitter note on the aftertaste. That's the same thing that occurs in hard red winter wheat, and there are people that find that objectionable. I happen to love it, but there are many people that do not like it, and so it was making it difficult for people to eat whole grains if they found that flavor objectionable. So wheat breeders developed hard white wheat, which does not have the red color and also does not, as a result, have the tannins, at least to the in the concentrations that hard red winter wheat had. So most of our vision and mission here has been to return landrace and ancient grains to the foodway. We do have some modern wheats. This past November, for the first time, however, I did engage with a farmer to grow hard white wheat for us because we get so many requests for it. And if you're someone who should find that flavor, that bitterness objectionable, who am I to deny you your whole wheat flour and your whole wheat bread? Unfortunately, this was a particularly challenging year for wheat cultivation. And many of our wheat crops came in with very, very low protein. And unfortunately, that hard white wheat came in at right around 9% protein. And the phrenograph testing that we got, the results from that showed that it would not make a very nice or attractive loaf of bread. So we're committed to trying again. And we will try to grow that again in the future. And hopefully that will be one of our offerings beginning in June of 2021. Do y'all receive postcards? You bet. I love written correspondence. I got a written letter of thanks from one of our customers last month in a handcrafted envelope on handmade stationery, and that was an awesome experience. I think it's something that we have lost our appreciation for, and we should all do more, myself included. So you bet. Send those letters and postcards. We'd love to read them. When will mesquite flour be available? That's an awesome question and a hard question. So we use completely different equipment and processes for milling, sifting, and processing our mesquite flour. Just so that you understand sort of the sequence of events that have to take place. We have to send foragers out into the field to hand forage for the mesquite pods. And this occurs in July or August, the hottest months of the year here in Central Texas. Some of the requirements are that they cannot pick up any pods off of the ground. They have to be removed directly from the tree, which has quite long, sharp needles that are painful if you get stuck by them. So the foraging process itself is not a lot of fun. Normally, our foragers will put down tarps and maybe shake the trees and or agitate them with poles to try to knock down these pods and collect them. At that point, they need to go through what's called a kill stage. So if they have any insects residing in the pods, we have to account for that. So what we normally do is freeze the pods for approximately 2 weeks as a kill step. Once that is done, they need to be roasted or toasted in some way, which brings out the sweetness that resides within the pods. And this last year, we did sun roasting because we had the building was partially built, and we had the slab for this front building constructed, but the building hadn't been raised yet. So we sun toasted them in the 100 degree heat for several days, and that worked out amazingly well. Normally we would put them in our bread ovens and toast them. At that point, we store them, and so we put them on CO2. We modified atmospheric package those on CO2 until we're ready to mill them. At that point, we mill them on our hammer mill, and then we have a dedicated sifter that we sift the resulting powder through to remove larger particles, including the beans themselves, which are not really what the part we're after. The part we're after is the outer casing. That is what's sweet. That's what has so much residual sugar and flavor. The pods are virtually flavorless and tough and not desirable. So that's what it takes to get from bean to flour. Since we just moved, all of that equipment has been in deep storage, and we're trying to figure out where we're going to place that equipment in our new facility, get it set up, and then we're going to receive hopefully about 1,000 pounds of mesquite pods here in July and August and get started on processing those. So it's going to be a bit of a wait still. I'm guessing by September, October, we should have something to show for that. We do have whole pods available if you want to try your hand at milling and sifting yourself. Feel free to reach out to us, and we can probably hook you up with some whole mesquite pods. Okay, next question. Do you have any recommendations on the best small stone mill for home usage? Yeah, we're big fans of the Mock Mills, the Mock Mill, MOCKMILL. We have carried those in the store. We're not currently, but we have one that we use for demos, and we even use it for milling small amounts of things in the mill room. And then a little known fact is it takes about somewhere between 5 and 10 pounds of grain passing through our big mills before anything ever comes out the other end. So if somebody orders a specialty grind, either like a coarse pumpernickel or cracked grain or something, some odd thing that we don't normally offer, particularly some of our demanding wholesale customers, we'll whip out the mock mill just for the purpose of creating those items, and we can do it quickly and easily. They've got a whole range of mills now, from a very basic mill, which I think the base model does a great job for making, between 2.5 to 5 pounds of flour to make a couple of loaves, 2 to 4 loaves of bread. It's more than fine. The stones are identical, I believe, between all the models. The difference comes in the rating for the motors. And they go up to a pro model that is rated for continuous milling all day long. So pick your poison. I think they all make about the same granularity of flour, if not exactly identical. So pick the thing that's right for your use. And I don't think this is an instance where you need to overbuy for capacity. Buy within what makes sense for your bread baking regime. But those are great mills, and they work great. And I think the price point's great for what you get. How do you protect the nutrients? That's a great question and a hard one in some ways. We don't have to be too concerned about protecting the nutrients in the sense that we mill at very low temperatures. You'll hear a lot of different things from people about cold milling, cold temperature milling, and what that does in terms of the product. I agree with some of those things, and others I don't. There's a concern that above a certain temperature that you will destroy the alpha and beta amylase enzyme activity within the flour, and then even a higher temperature above 150 degrees, you start degrading the protein. Our normal exit temperature for our mills is somewhere between 86 and 96 degrees. So not only are we not destroying any of the enzymes or the protein, but we're probably not even threatening the naturally occurring yeast that resides on the outside of those grains after they're harvested. Apart from that, the oils, there's a very short line from the grain coming out of our mill and going into a bag, so we don't have to worry about oxidation of the germ oils. So you're getting all of the goodness, combining that with we're milling to order each and every week, whereas most milled flour that you get in the grocery store may be 9 months or older, quite long in the tooth compared to our flour. So I think we're doing an excellent job of preserving the nutrient value of those grains. Let's see, what else do we have? What is the vetting process for producers and suppliers? For me, that really starts with a conversation. We have a lot of tire kickers, as I like to call them, people who inquire about what it would take to start a relationship with us. The first thing I ask right off the bat is, are you an organic farmer? Because we're only receiving certified organic grains here. Our facility is still yet to be certified, but we're moving in that direction, and the easiest way for us to do that is to be behaving already like a certified organic producer. So we maintain all of our records. We go through all the processes and best standards that an organic producer goes through. We just have not officially requested the beginning of that process yet. I think as soon as we get everything settled here, we're still relatively newcomers to this facility. Once we get settled, get all of our processes fully dialed in, then we'll be ready to start that journey. And it is a fairly involved one. So I ask my farmers whether they're organic or not, and then we start talking about location, what they've grown, what their farming experience is. I want to know more about their land. How long has it been organic? Have they just gotten through organic transition? What's the history of the farmstead? What's their history as farmers? How much experience do they have farming? What kind of problems have they seen? Do they have disease pressures, pest pressures? Do they have problems with precipitation? Not enough, too much, getting it at the right times, getting it at the wrong times. And sometimes it doesn't mean necessarily that a farmer is going to be good or bad for our scenario, but will help recommend to me what kind of grain maybe they should be growing. So maybe they get a lot of cold weather. Well, maybe rye would be great for them. Maybe they're at higher altitude. Maybe Sonora would be great for them. So it just depends. Maybe they do a great job at turning in wheat with high protein, so we would put them on our grains that are really designated for bread flours. Maybe they make lower protein. We can give them Sonora Mediterranean or any of our rye varieties. So it's just a getting to know you sort of period, and then we see where we go from there. A lot of people are deterred by the demands of organic farming, unfortunately. But we try to take all comers, all those who are interested that can satisfy those basic requirements. And then many of you may know that our MO is that we donate the seed stock to all of our farmers, and that's regarded as a loan. So at harvest time, if they make a harvest, then they pay us back in wheat berries or wheat seed. So they're not out any money on the front end. We have shared risk and exposure with our farmers. If things go totally south and there's nothing to harvest, then we've both lost in that endeavor. So that's sort of our methodology, and we're anxious and excited to take on as many new farmers as we can, especially ones closer to home, as we really try to foster this local and regional grain economy. I hope that answers your questions and answers them to your satisfaction. Thanks for tuning in on Monday for Ask Your Miller Mondays, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.